On paper, these pedals should be a pretty good buy, but in reality, I'm telling you, you should keep your hands in your pocket and look elsewhere. If you don't, it could be a very costly mistake. Starting with weight, and it's not a particularly good start. I think these are a bit heavy. I've got the large size and they weigh 460 grams. The smaller size will weigh 410. Now, if you compare that to similarly priced pedals, slightly more expensive, but my HT AEO5s, these only weigh 360 grams. Alternatively, you could get something like the One Up Aluminium, again around that 360, 365 mark, or you could go for Hope 22s, and they're again around the same price, a little bit more expensive, but only weigh 360 grams. They should be at least 60 to 80 grams lighter than this. These are more designed for mountain biking than touring, which is what I wanted them for. And for that reason, the Grub screws I felt were a little bit prominent. They're 8mm variety, so I decided to replace them and put 6mm screws in. Now, when I did this with my Stamp 7s, I had a problem. If you check out the video up here, the problem was that I couldn't get all the Grub screws out because there was too much Loctite or whatever the product they use, so it was very hard to get them out. I had exactly the same problem here, and as with the Stamp 7s, I ended up having to get a Dremel to cut them down to size for those that I couldn't get out. An absolute pain, quite honestly. Once I got them down to 6mm, they're pretty comfortable actually, and I do like the wide platform, so I can't criticise them there, but I think I possibly overdid it, and the 6mm, even for touring, they do feel a little bit slippy and not quite as grippy as I would like. That's why I've given them such a low mark, because I think overall, yeah, they could be better. I've had these pedals quite a while and I've not used them that much, even though they do look a bit bashed up, and that's because I've just used them as a spare pair, and I use my Stamp 7s as the main pair, and I've used the HT AEO5s as well. But the problem I've had with them is that they've started to squeak now, and obviously I've wanted to service them. They start squeaking after, I think I've done maybe 3,000–4,000 kilometers, which frankly, compared to the Stamp 7, that's not bad, because they start to squeak after 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers. But the big problem, which I'm going to come on to in just a second, is the fact that I can't service them. That means that after 3,000, maybe 4,000 kilometers of use, they're completely useless, and I now have to throw these away. I can't do anything with them. So to pay the amount of money that I have for these pedals to get 3,000, 4,000 kilometers use out of them, it's just frankly outrageous. It's disgraceful. Absolutely awful. Complete and utter bullshit. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I just take the opportunity to ask you to subscribe, to like, and hit the notification bell. It honestly helps me out tons. It's all free. Thank you very much. Now back to what I think is one of the most important sections, and that is maintenance, because when I can, I like to maintain things myself. Saves a bit of money, and I think it's a useful skill to be able to repair as much as you can on the bike. However, I can sometimes be very lazy, and when they start to squeak, I just couldn't be bothered to take them apart and service them. So I took them to my local bike shop, which I pass regularly, and asked them to do the job. Now, I hung around while I started to take out the main bolt, and I just couldn't believe what happened, because when they tried to undo the bolt, they had more than a bit of difficulty, and eventually it broke the tool. Now, here's the bolt that I'm talking about. And to break a tool, it's absolutely incredible. This was a Park 2 as well. I have never seen anything like this in my life. I think it's absolutely diabolical. I don't know what Loctite or what brand they're using to keep these screws and bolts from coming out, but it's way too strong. I'm just beyond perplexed with it. I'm really angry as well, because now I've got two sets of pedals, not only the Stamp 2s, but the Stamp 7s as well, which went the same way. And I've got two pairs of broken pedals that I spent close to $300 on, and they're going to be thrown away. Absolutely abysmal. Don't make the same mistake. These pedals can't be maintained. I honestly don't know what a fair price for these would be, because I would take into consideration I might not get more than 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 kilometers from them, in which case I'd say you may as well buy a pair of cheap Chinese pedals for $20 or $30, but these aren't cheap pedals. They're $100, and at that kind of price I think they represent absolutely appalling value for money. I honestly don't like giving bad reviews to anything, but in this case I think it's perfectly justified. I do think these are terrible. They belong on a scrapyard somewhere, which is where they're going after this review. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they can't be serviced due to the design flaw for how they've been put together. It's just not good enough. There are honestly much better pedals on the market than these for the money. $100, they're a bad buy. I would go for the slightly more expensive, either Hope 22s or the HT AEL 5s. But alternatively, if you don't mind a bit of extra weight, I have a pair of Shimano PDM 8140s on my Surly ECR, and those things are bulletproof, but they are a bit heavy. They weigh 505 grams. I've got a friend that's got a pair of the Shimano XTs on his bike, and he said he's had 25,000 kilometers of perfect riding with them. So I would say, if you don't mind the extra weight, yes, the Shimano XTs are the way to go. Otherwise, go with Hope or the HT pedals. What I wouldn't do though is ever waste your money on either Stamp 2 or Stamp 7 pedals. Now there's only one thing to do, and that's to put these where they belong.